All right, we're back. So I'm at the January trade deadline, but 6 days left. I thought it'd be a good time to make a move. If you look at our standings here, we're 22-9 with 46 points to lead the Eastern Conference. And sorry, Ottawa actually has a bunch more wins than us, but so we're top of the playoff race here. We have 101 goals against, so our defense and goalie situation has been pretty nice. The key with our team, if you look at it, I have this year's roster here and next year's roster here. So for next year's roster, I was thinking of having Suzuki and Del Monte on the same line. Suzuki is crazy. He can be like an 18 perimeter shooter. So again, thinking about making him the scorer, Del Monte the setup man, and then probably have Zarb there, the young guy on the first line with him. Potentially an elite scoring line. It could always have a bigger body at right winger there, like Piercy or somebody, if he develops a little bit more, or power forward. So that's what I want to talk about kind of right now in this episode. If you look at our roster, everybody this year is pretty much back except for our OAs. Obviously, Picard's gonna be gone, and then we're losing our stud defenseman Tucker. But we have a stud defenseman Hill is a defensive guy, and Allison's like a balanced guy. But we have the key I've learned with the defenseman is you have a bunch of different styles. So most important one is the offensive like power play quarterback. So Clark is already going to be that stud first line power play, absolute monster on the offensive end, and then York's going to be our OA, who's going to be a nice, steady, reliable 6 foot, 210 pound, nice all around game. So those are going to be the top two on the right side, playing most of the minutes, and then Shred will actually be 18 that season. He'll have some minutes too. And then Alan. Oh, I guess I didn't update the ages for this one, did I? Because yeah, all these guys are going to be a year older. No, sorry, I'm looking at last year's. That's why. Okay, so Shreddle's still 17. Sorry about that. So next year, like you said, yeah, I'll have York as the OA, steady, reliable guy. Clark will be the all-round star. I'll pair him with Hill, the 6'4" monster defensive stay-at-home guy. So that makes a really nasty pairing there. That'll probably be like the first line pairing, and then the OA and Allison's a nice balanced pairing. We'll probably make York the stay-at-home guy and Allison the offensive guy there, and then we'll use our OA on Prospel, and then have him as the offensive guy with Shreddle, the defensive guy. So I've kind of have all my defense pairings set already, and all these guys are on the team right now. And then next year, as you can see, we'll have Suzuki, Del Monte being the top two offensive guys in that first dominant line, and then we'll have the Frasca brother line. We'll have the 17-year-old center who's the stud on the second line there with Forrester, and next year those guys will all be 20 experience in their positions. And then we'll have that third awesome defensive grindy line with Dalton Duhart as a 19-year-old. He's 6 foot, like 190, can play center, just an all-around like an 11 or 12 at everything. Pretty grindy throwback third liner, so he'll be a nice defensive player. Bignell is going to be our defensive stud. He's more like a fourth liner, so I'll make him the shutdown third line. This will be an all defensive line. So Bignell has, I guess I can just show you, that's probably easier. Bignell will probably be our motor guy next year. As you can see, he has really high defensive ratings, 13 on the face-off, which is good as a defensive line guy, and then it's good hitting and 6'1". So what we'll do with him is, and then he has pretty decent speed too, and in a really balanced offensive game with 13 leadership. So I really like him in that third line center spot. He's perfect for that. No NHL potential, but just a nice defensive player. And then they'll probably team up with Piercy, who's 6'4", another guy who can play on that third line there as a shutdown guy with a long body and has some pretty good defensive ratings too. So I'm really excited about next year's team. This year's team's pretty solid. But mainly the whole team's back next year. It's gonna be our big year for the run. I have next year's second round pick and the year after that second round pick that I can still trade right now, the trade deadline. So I'd like to pick up one more star for next year's run, because we'll have two 19-year-old goalies. We'll have all these like defensemen will all be 2019 minus obviously like the third line guy, it doesn't matter as much, and Clark, who's our best one. He might be drafted and never play after this season, so his age isn't that important. So what will matter is getting one more stud offensive forward, because if we can get a power, I was thinking maybe a bigger body here and then move him down a little bit, maybe to the third or fourth line, still only going to be 17. So I think the number one thing I noticed so far here is if we go to Hamilton, their last place. So what I noticed about them is Kaliev is just too expensive. He's too dominant. I can't afford to give up what it would take to get him. It would pretty much take like Frasca or Clark or somebody. So, anyways, I'm not going to give up that much. But I was looking at Todd Bertuzzi's son here, and he's got center and left wing, and he's got really good ratings. He's a 14 power forward. So what I would probably do is use him on the right wing and have a power forward here with Suzuki and Del Monte and just make that first line unreal. So he'd probably be like a 15 to 16 rated power forward next season when he's a 19-year-old, and be an absolute beast there with Suzuki and his crazy playmaking ability. So that line would be pretty unstoppable. So to get him, I pretty much have to give up those 2 second-round picks. I'll give up those 2 second-round picks and a player. Probably my foreign guy I have my rights to. That's a good second-round guy in the import draft, Putkara. But since I already have one foreign guy, Silvos, and then I kind of want to trade my one other dream prospect to trade for is that really good Swedish defenseman. I'm pretty sure he's on Sarnia. Yes. Eric Horth. This guy's a monster. He's got some crazy offensive ratings. So I'm thinking next year I'm going to try to see if I can trade for him. Maybe give up my first round pick. Rookie next year, whoever that is. And then have this guy. So if I have him and Clark on the right side, that will just be crazy first and second line power play guys, and just have 2 offensive defensemen that are just incredible. So I'm really excited for next year to potentially try to trade for him. I don't need him this year, so I'm not going to trade for him this year since I have all the defensemen I need. But I'm thinking, and these 2, I don't need everybody this year, but next year for sure we're going to look at him and then see if I can get maybe one more piece. And then after that, we're going to do a total rebuild. So try to get some guys that can make it all out for the run next year. So what we'll do is in this episode here, we'll just try and trade for Bertuzzi quickly. See if we can get that done. So tag Bertuzzi, trade offer. So what we want to give up is pretty low on draft picks here. Next year's second, and then the year after that, second and third. I'm going to be realistic and stick to the rules here. We're not going to trade first round picks. And then we're going to give up the rights to probably, here's the foreign guy. So he's really nice, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get him on the team next year. It's kind of a risk, and he's so valuable that I think we're pretty set at forward next year anyways, because he's a really similar player to Zarbker and Forrester. He's just a tad better, but not really much, and he's pretty small, so it's not like we're giving up everything. We're giving up guys not even on the team. And we have kind of similar guys in his position next year. Del Monte and Frasca are definitely deserve first and second line next year, and Forrester. And I'm thinking we're going to have one more spot for an OA next season too, so we can pick up another good OA guy for the third or fourth line probably. So what we'll do here is give up him. It says I think they'll probably accept that offer. And then I have commissioner mode on just to fix shit. There's a bunch of bugs in this game, so obviously like we're not going to cheat, do the force trade, but it looks like they're probably going to accept this. We'll see here. Oh, since it's the trade deadline, they accept it right away. We don't have to wait a day. So it looks like they accepted that. I could fool around and maybe offer some other picks, but again, I want to be realistic. Team's not going to give up a really good top-notch forward with a year of eligibility left for less than probably a second or a couple second-round picks. So I don't want to. I think in the game it values those mid-round picks a little bit too much. Like you could do 4 like 7th-round picks or something, and it would probably do it. But again, I'm trying to keep this dynasty as consistent as possible and just make it super realistic. So I think that's a realistic trade in real life. You give up 2 pretty good draft, like really high draft picks, and then a 3rd-round pick to a young team who's in last place. That's a pretty nice looking deal for a guy like Bertuzzi, who they got pretty easily last year from Guelph. So, oh shit, did I not accept that trade? Finalized trade, yes. Okay, so that's huge. So that means we can start training Bertuzzi at right wing right now. So for next year, he's fully ready for that first line. We can either do that or just keep him at center maybe. Let's look here. All of a sudden we add Bertuzzi into the mix here. So what we'll do with Bertuzzi is he'll probably... thing is, I really like Del Monte, but this year he's not quite ready for that first top 6 role, just because he's young and he's not really developed a left wing yet. So we can probably move him down potentially, and then have Bertuzzi fill out there the rest of the season. We'll have to think about that after this episode, but there's a couple of different options. But all of a sudden now, this team next year is looking really nasty. So that's pretty exciting. All in the episode there.